What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Turn the Jets Live. I'm your host, Steven Zantz, joined by my co-host, Steven Russo. Russo, I heard it in your voice. It was just a man who felt deflated. How you feeling after that game, man? It was a tough one, I gotta say.
I'm okay. I mean, every season has one. Let's hope that at the end of the 23 season, we look back on this and you're like, oh, remember when we lost by 20 in Dallas? Like, yeah, that was a tough one. I do. You start letting reality sink in a little bit. Dallas is a good team. They're going to be a good team this year. Maybe the Jets were just overmatched on a short week, long travel, all that. So I'm doing better the longer that I give it to kind of sink in and let reality really set in for me.
Yeah, man, it was tough. I mean, let's be honest. I didn't expect them to win. I think I said that they would cover. They didn't do that either, which sucked. But I think for me, the tough part is it's just like we were talking all week, and kind of coming off that Monday night high, how this defense is so good, and they just laid an absolute egg. I mean, like I couldn't even pinpoint other than Solomon Thomas getting a sack. One thing the defense really did well, because I get it, they held them to field goals in certain situations, but they still gave up 30 points. And it's just, it was not pretty, man. I just, like, there's so much blame to go around. The game plan was terrible. I know we'll talk about some adjustments, but, what was like your biggest takeaway from this game?
My biggest takeaway was probably with the quarterback situation that you have now, you have to figure out a way, no matter what, to manufacture touches to your best players. So when you walk away with Garrett getting 2 catches, Breece getting 4 touches, you just know you're not going to win. I don't care if I'm the quarterback or the offensive coordinator. Like, you have to figure out a way to get those guys the ball. Like, they're your horses, and you're just not going to win games, let alone beat one of the better teams in the league on the road with a good defense by getting your best playmakers the ball and game breakers at that, right? Like, you need to get chunk plays. I know Joe and Connor talked about it. Like, teams are begging Zach Wilson to go 15 plays, 3-4 yards a clip. Like, you need those chunk plays. So that was kind of my biggest disappointment. Like, they abandoned the run early. They abandoned trying to get Breece the ball. They did. I mean, give them attempts. I think Garrett had 8 targets, but only 2 catches. Like, you got to
that's pitiful. That's a bit.
It still is. You got to force feed that guy. You have to. So I think that overall was my biggest disappointment.
Yeah, I would say my biggest disappointment probably is Hackett on top of the defense, because the defense was a collective failure. Let's be honest. But how could Hackett not give Breece Hall the ball? Like, you got to throw away the stupid pitch count. He looks good. Like, give him a chance. The only way that he's going to get more comfortable is if you give him more game reps, let him get hit, let him get that feel. And he was ready for it in week 1. So why are we stepping back away from something that was successful, especially running to the right side, which they never did? I think they maybe did it like twice. And I know that everyone on social media, and I know Joe and Connor said this, Ruckert has to be playing. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I like CJ Uzomah. Like, I was excited when they signed him, but like, he's dead weight at this point from a blocking perspective. He's not even doing the one thing that he's been known for. Like, forget about him in the pass game. I don't expect much out of him. That's Conklin's role. It's just, you got to play your best players. You got to give your team a chance to win with their deficiency at the quarterback position. And the fact that Ruckert, what he played, like 4 snaps on it, that's unacceptable. And I know Saleh said today during his presser that they got to get him on the field more. And you could blame Hackett all you want, but Saleh, you're the one who's overseeing everything. And you have to tell him, hey, we need to make sure that, he's on the field and giving our guys a shot, because the protection was just brutal, man. Like, there's just no way around it. Like, I get it. Dwayne Brown's 38 years old, but McGovern, man, like, he was so bad. Like, that's one of the worst games I've seen from a Jets center in years. Like, maybe like going back to when Nick Mangold got hurt and Colin Baxter was a center, or was it Spencer Long, the guy who played with Darnold? Oh my God.
Couldn't snap the ball to Darnold. Yeah.
It was tough, man. But yeah, I would say Hackett deserves a lot of blame here.
I think you're 100% right. And it just seemed like on both sides of the ball, they didn't have a game plan for Dallas's best players. It seemed like they left Dwayne Brown on an island to try to block Micah Parsons, and they had no plan for CeeDee Lamb. It seems like they let the simple just get away from him. Like, when you talk about Hackett, I 100% agree with you. Just give the ball to Breece Hall, run behind the right side, get Mecole Hardman some snaps and some touches because he's got game-breaking speed. Like, get Ruckert in there for blocking help. He had a monster game against Buffalo and you're struggling to run the ball, get the guy on the field. Like, I just don't.
Yeah.
It just really seemed like they I don't know, they got in their own way and didn't just let the simplest answers, they didn't allow the simplest answers to just be there for themselves.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about this comment that Slip Repeat 726 put in. He said, start Briley instead of Cobb. He'll block along with Lazard. I got to admit, like, that's something you got to look into. Maybe not even just necessarily him, but Gibson should be playing. Harbin should be playing. Like, the fact that Harbin's played, what, like 10 snaps in 2 weeks is insane. You're paying the guy, what, $6 million? And I know the joke was how they had a defined role for him. What is it, to sit on the bench? Like, even if you're not going to give him the ball, he at least gives a threat of speed that, they have to at least keep honest. You could attack, and even with a short pass, but like, it's just truly unbelievable how they just look so inept. And like, I get it. We didn't expect a lot of the offense. And I will say, and I want to talk about Zach because, he's the biggest, polarizing figure right now because everything kind of rides with him. Like, the defense can only go so far, but if you can't score points, it doesn't matter. And I'm curious, like, I know you talked about on 1st and 10, and, I think we're going to keep doing that every week where Russo will go through a couple things on a solo pod, but how do you feel Zach honestly played? Because I have some thoughts, and I think that we're putting him on a curve and he's being baby, but how do you think he honestly played?
I agree with you. I think Saleh kind of, especially in his Monday presser, I thought he treated him with kid gloves a little bit.
Definitely.
I think you saw signs as to why you're encouraged by him. And you saw, let me back it up a second. So I think, and I've said this before, I think they're doing the right thing by letting him take control of this team for the time being. I think that's the right thing to do. You're supporting him. You're building his confidence. You're showing that you have confidence in him and that you, the coaching staff, and the team is behind him. I get that. My problem is they don't have anyone that gives you the ability to have a quick hook because the history.
Tim Boyle's not it.
No, the 2-year history that we've seen suggests that at some point it's going to turn and you're probably going to need that hook. So that's my problem. So in this game, I think you saw things from Zach that make you encouraged, that make you see, okay, maybe he can be the guy. Maybe he can do just enough to get us there because this is a good team. Like, Aaron Rodgers doesn't say there's maybe 6 to 12 teams every year that think they win the Super Bowl and we're one of them. He doesn't say that by chance, right?
I agree.
So if you can get this team just over the hump to 500 or better, then you're good. And we saw signs as to why Zach would be able to do that. But you can't just discount the fourth quarter because you're down 20 and trying to make a comeback. Like, I don't care if you're down 20 or tied. You can't make those throws. You can't sprint out right and throw it back across your body left instead of throwing it out and throw a pick. You can't throw that pick to Trevon Diggs. And you certainly can't, the Garrett Wilson one wasn't as bad because he probably should have bulleted it, right? Instead of lofting it. But still, you can't make that throw. If you make that good throw, that's a 40-yard gain on the sideline. Your team's in the red zone. So it's just, it was Zach. It was just, it gives you hope and takes it away.
I mean,
sorry if I stole your thunder. I get passionate.
You didn't steal it. I think he doesn't really give me hope anymore. Like, I kind of just know what he is at this point. Like, he'll occasionally have a nice play or two. I mean, I think the most impressive thing was just how he kept stepping up in that final drive before the half. And I know everyone's been kind of holding their head against that maybe he's figured out what to do in certain situations. But at the end of the day, he still went 12 for 27. He had 1 touchdown. And let's be honest here. I mean, yes, he threw a touchdown. Garrett Wilson did all the work there. It was like a 10-yard slant, and he went to the house. So I can't say like, oh my God, it was amazing. Garrett literally was incredible. And, he actually should have had a second touchdown to him is when they were in the red zone and he got hit. His arm got hit. Garrett was wide open, and then it almost got picked off because the ball got hit. And I was freaking out. But like, I don't want to hear about this incomplete pass that everyone keeps about to Lazard that initially was called incomplete and it wasn't. Like, it doesn't count. Like, what are we doing here?
It was incomplete.
As a fan base, we were making fun of the Giant fans who were saying that Jalen Highland beat Sauce Gardner in the final preseason game. I'm like, that's literally the same thing. And like, why are we like crowding him? Like, make it a complete pass and do it consistently. Make it like do more than that. Like, I'd rather him just literally execute the offense, do exactly what Dak Prescott did. Dak Prescott did not go deep at all. He literally didn't go after the best corner. He's literally like, he said this all set of the game. I'm not going to go after. Why would I go after the best player? He literally was just attacking the middle of the field, short, quick plays. That's the issue. Zach doesn't know how to do a quick game. And that was one of the things that we were so excited about with Rodgers is that You would expect there'll be times when maybe the offensive line was going to get beat, and he knew that, and he just got the ball out as fast as he could. So for me, it's like Zach is still making the same errors that he was making his first 2 years. Look, it's one game, and he wasn't nearly as bad in the Buffalo game. And we have New England coming to town, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But like, I'm not overly encouraged just because he stepped up a couple times and he learned from some of his mistakes. He still doesn't know how to play quarterback at a competent level. I'm not even asking for above average, competent level. It's insane. I don't understand where this positivity is coming from.
I know
there's no hook. I agree. There's no hook to take. So I get it.
Yeah, and honestly, like I look around the league and you see guys like obviously like Brock Purdy and Sam Howell having success and doing it, and I'm just like, why can't we just get that kind of play? Like that's all I need. That's it. Just like don't kill us. Just play level, play even, play just mediocre even, and we're fine. But I don't know. It's tough. Zach is Zach. I hope that he proves us otherwise. I really do. I mean, it's a tough 4-game stretch to get to the bye. But we'll see. I think no matter what, like we talked about in the opening, you just got to find ways to force feed your playmakers the ball. And if you can do that, if you can find ways to do that, I think Zach and this offense will be okay. It'll be good enough. And I do, hopefully, and I really do believe this. I think that the Dallas game for the defense, for the Jets defense, was an outlier. I don't think that's indicative of what they're going to be for the rest of the season. I think that was just one of those ones that gets away from you.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that they were so lifeless on offense for the most part that it's just one of those games. And think about it, like last year they had that early stinker against Cincinnati on defense, and then it really never happened again. I mean, any game that they had lost that was a tough loss is usually close, and when the defense is keeping them in. I mean, look, we have Mac Jones coming to town. It's not Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb. Like I watched that Pats game on Sunday Night Football. If you're able to do what you did to him the last 2 years and you're able to run the ball effectively, you're going to have success against this Patriots team. But what would you say is like the biggest adjustment they need to make headed into Patriot Week?
Stick to the run game. I think that's the biggest thing. You can't abandon it so early. And I get like they got down 7-0, but this was still a game at halftime. And if we can go back to that a little bit, but couple different things go the Jets' way, and this may be a different game. You talk about the Sauce pick that should have been. You talk about the Garrett touchdown that should have been. But even in spite of those things, this was still 18-10 at halftime. And getting 8 carries between Dalvin Cook and Breece Hall, it's just not going to cut it. So that's the biggest thing. I think Belichick's going to do everything possible to get Zach to make a mistake and turn the ball over. And it's Hackett's job to mitigate that and to get the ball in the hands of his playmakers in a safe way. And that's specifically in the run game. So I'd like to see this be the game where maybe Breece gets 20 rushes and maybe Dalvin gets 10 to 12, something like that. I think you can't abandon the run so early, just no matter what happens, for the Pats on defense. You have to stick with the run. This has to be Rex Ryan, ground and pound all day. It has to be. You have to rely on that. It's got to be a boring game plan.
Yes, but at the same time, my thing is get Garrett Wilson the ball as much as you can. Like, I get it. He had 8 targets, but at the same time, make them easier completions. Like, just Zach is clearly developing a rapport with Garrett, and we didn't see that as much last year. I mean, look, 2 games, 2 touchdowns. You have to get him the ball. Like, in any way, what you could even do some of the end around stuff that we've seen before. I know it's a different offense. I don't know if Hackett's necessarily in love with those, but like, just figure out ways to get the ball to your playmakers. I agree, Breece needs to be on the field more. I would be absolutely stunned if he actually had 20 carries. I mean, that would be great because that means like that they feel confident to do it. I mean, get him like 14 to 15 at the minimum.
He had 11 in the first week and 4 in the second. So I think that little setback, now he's due for a little more, a little bigger chunk in week 3.
Yeah, I agree. But I also just think that they need to figure out a way to make Mac Jones's life hell. And they can. Yeah. Their front is so good, and they need to make sure that they're winning their one-on-one matchups. They got absolutely cooked by the Dallas offensive line. This Patriot offensive line is not the one, who had Matt Light and Dan Copen and Nate Solder and all those guys. It is a pretty weak offensive line. I mean, I don't even know if Trent Brown's going to play. I know he's coming in the concussion protocol. I believe he did practice today. I know Connor McDermott is not on the team anymore. It's a pretty weak unit compared to what we've seen. It's not coached by Dante Scarnecchia. You need to win at the line of scrimmage. Just dominate the trenches. I know Dan would be so proud that we're talking about owning the trenches, but like they have to get a rush. You need to get 5 to 6 sacks. You need to do exactly what you did to Josh Allen in Buffalo. And honestly, last year, other than I mean, actually, it was in the New England game that they really held Mac into nothing. He killed them with the quick game in the second half, in the game in MetLife, where they kind of came away from them. They have to not allow that to happen. They need to make sure that the middle of the field is not getting crushed. And I know everyone's concerned about Quincy Williams. As of now, he's practicing this week, which is a good thing because it seemed like it was a bad injury and they were pretty coy after the game. But as far as we know, he's probably going to be playing, even if it's in some sort of limited capacity. But yeah, is there anything else you want to see from this team?
Get Will McDonald active again.
Yes, that was ridiculous. We didn't even talk about it at the top. Why is Will McDonald not playing? Like, I get it. They're like heavier, beefier. With what? You did nothing. Nothing worked. You need to put your best players on the field. I don't care if Solomon Thomas did get that 1 sack. Bench him. Make sure you have speed and you're winning on the edge. They showed no signs of that last week.
Yeah. My argument is, like, if you're going to struggle because your defensive line is so deep, if you're going to struggle to get your 15th overall pick on the field and suit it up, forget on the field, but suit it up, why did you take him in the first round? Like, find a way. He's clearly one of your best pass rushers. Find a way to make him active. Carl Lawson, I don't know what's going on there, but right now, I don't think he's as good of an edge rusher as Will McDonald. I think that's safe to say. Get Will McDonald on the field. Make sure he's active. Let him get out there for whatever it is, 7 to 10 snaps. Let him pin his ears back against Mac Jones in this offensive line and just go get the quarterback.
I agree. So I want to shift focus to who needs to step up the most for this team. So who would you say is the number one guy that has to step it up?
After last week, Paul Hackett. Paul Hackett.
Oh my God!
I keep going back. I see my dad and I used to bitch about him left and right, man. Back in the day, the guy had success too. Like he had a playoff offense in 3 out of the 4 years he was there. 3 out of 5 years. Anyway, Nate Hackett, I think, has to step up. I think again, we mentioned it. I mentioned it. Let the simple kind of just come to the forefront. Get Mecole Hardman in there, get Garrett Wilson the ball, get Breece Hall the ball. Don't overthink it. Like, this should be a run heavy game plan. I'm not suggesting they don't throw the ball at all. But if you can get, 20 to 25 runs, and manage Zach Wilson throwing the ball, maybe match that, 20 to 25 times, but you're still getting 10 plus targets to Garrett Wilson, which he should. I think that's the game plan. He's got to show up after last week. I think he needs to step up the most, following that just debacle in Dallas.
I think it's Laken Tomlinson, because if he doesn't step it up, he needs to get his ass on the bench. I mean, he has been a huge bust of a signing, and I was super excited because coming off a Pro Bowl year, but like, what's happened to this guy? He was really good in San Francisco. It makes no sense to me. And I don't get it. He's literally been a turnstile. I'll give Dwayne Brown the benefit of the doubt. He had no camp. He missed like all of training camp. So I get that. But like, if you're not going to show up, you're going to sit on the bench. I don't care how they have to figure this out. Like, maybe it's moving McGovern to guard, putting AVT at tackle, putting Tippmann at center. I don't care. They need to get better up front. And he is the number one guy besides McGovern, who should be benched anyway. But I expect more out of Laken. I expect nothing out of McGovern. I feel like the only reason he was re-signed is just because they wanted a veteran center for Rodgers. But Rodgers isn't here anymore. So I think they got to roll the dice and shift it. And I don't think they are.
Yeah, I agree with you. It feels like Saleh and the staff is almost loyal to a fault, especially to veterans.
You can't be.
And you really can't, because there's no reason to be. I don't think Connor McGovern's not long for this team. Beyond this year, I mean, it's going to be Tippmann's job to lose. So why not just progress that and move that along faster? And I think, I wouldn't be opposed at all, because I think you're right about Dwayne Brown. And I think, listen, no one's going to have a good game against Micah Parsons, and he's still kind of easing back in after.
Oh my God, still having nightmares.
A slow summer, right? But yeah, I think either you're playing offensive line Jenga again, and you're toying with the idea of moving AVT or Mekhi Becton to the left or something like that. I think probably the easiest solution would be you get Tippmann in at center, and you probably get Schweitzer in at left guard. And I think that may make your line overall better, because right now center and left guard are your biggest weaknesses right now on that offensive line. And, truth be told, I mean, listen, we know what Dwayne Brown is. He's been doing it for a long time. Maybe part of his struggle is because the guy playing next to him. And, I know Damian Woody says it, you're only as good as the guy next to you. So
Yep.
if Lakin really is struggling the way that we see, and I trust the guys that watch film obviously more than I do. I'm not that guy. But if he's struggling the way that we think he is, then maybe you replace him with Schweitzer, you replace McGovern with Tippmann, and your offensive line, at least in the run game, I think would look a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. When you look at like the advanced metrics, the Jets run blocking has been bad. I mean, they've actually been like to upper echelon through 2 weeks. And it's crazy to think that considering how piss poor they were, from a running perspective in week 2. But yeah, I mean, Schweitzer, I feel like is going to get on the field as well. I mean, he's kind of like our, Nate Herbig, if you will, this year. Like he's the kind of guy that you can plug and play. He's not going to be high level, but he at least has a high floor and he's at least competent. But right now, they're not even getting competence from half these guys.
Yeah.
It's insane. And like I know AVT didn't have his best game. Becton has been their best offensive lineman, and this is a guy that people thought may not make the team. It's crazy to think of where he is on the totem pole. I mean, I know AVT will be fine. I'm not worried about him. I think, like you said, you're only as good as the guy next to you, and McCover has been terrible. So it's not going to be easy for AVT to just dominate his matchups when the guy next to him is literally getting destroyed. But I think the line's going to play better. I know it wasn't great in week 1, but they definitely showed signs of competence. It'll be better. They're going to make adjustments. I know that they're going to change this game plan. It's a different opponent. They're not as afraid. I mean, Matt Judon, let's be honest, is a good player. He's not Micah Parsons. I'm still having nightmares with Micah Parsons. Like, it felt like he could do whatever he wanted to do the entire game, just wrecking everything. And it was just, it's one of those things where it's like the guy's so good. It's like, you can't even get mad because he does this to everybody. Like when you're watching like a basketball game and there's a guy who's just making every shot, and no matter how good of defense you play, he's just going to beat you. And that's what Parsons felt like. Like he was just all over the place. So it's like it's hard to get mad because like he's otherworldly. Like he's probably the best football player in the NFL. I mean, like best quarterback's Patrick Mahomes, obviously, but he's probably like the second best player that anyone would want on their team, right? I mean, I'm not crazy.
If there's an argument to be made, he's definitely top 3. Like there's no question there.
Yeah, it's crazy. But we'll move to this game because it is an important game. Everybody knows the history. They haven't won a game against New England since December 2015. The Eric Decker walk-off touchdown. I know we've all heard it ad nauseum, but what would you say is the biggest X factor for the Patriots? Because they're 0-2. This isn't the Patriots of old. This isn't, what's it called? City of Champions, New England. Like they're not that team. I've been very unimpressed with them, and they lost 2 games at home. But what would you say is their biggest X factor?
I think it's the guy you just mentioned. I think it's Matt Judon. I think, while he's not in the same ilk as a guy like Micah Parsons, he is a very good edge rusher and someone that has caused this Saleh-led Jets problems before. And Zach Wilson specifically. I know he knocked Zach Wilson out, I think, 2 years ago in his rookie season. It just, right now, the way the Jets line is playing, that's what scares me the most, is Matt Judon. I think he's probably their best player on defense and the one that could wreak havoc and really get in Zach Wilson's face to cause a few turnovers. So from my viewpoint, on the field, outside of Belichick, on the field, it's Matt Judon. But I'll say that Bill Belichick still against Zach Wilson scares the life out of me. Like I'll be scared forever. Bill Belichick, like, listen, you could go on and on about him and Tom Brady and who gets the credit. The guy's the best defensive mind this game has ever seen. The things that he can dial up and what he can do and what he has done historically to guys like Zach Wilson, it scares the life out of me. So Judon and Belichick are the biggest X factors for me coming into this game. They're the ones that could completely wreak havoc and turn this game upside down.
Yeah, I'm going to go on the offensive side of the ball. And it's based on what I've seen from them because I have watched both their games. It's Hunter Henry. He's been really, really good. Like he's been by far their best offensive player. Better than Stevenson, who I think is a pretty solid back. But like if they wanted to beat the Jets, they could pretty much attack the middle of the field with Hunter Henry because we had no answers for CeeDee Lamb. That's clearly the blueprint. I think if they just keep throwing the middle of the field with these like dink and dunk short passes, that's going to be trouble for the Jets. And look, you had Miami, who I think has a good defense on paper, and I know they're still gelling with a new coordinator, but they had trouble with him. You have Philadelphia, who, they were in the Super Bowl last year. They had trouble with him. I need to see Mosley. I need to see whoever's playing safety to help out. I need to see Quincy if he's playing, or Sherwood, whoever's going to be playing linebacker. They need to contain this guy, because if they don't, they're going to get attacked. It's going to be a problem for the Jets, and I don't want to see them get attacked in the middle of the field again, because it just felt like death by 1,000 like needles, like, or whatever. I can't think of the expression myself. What'd you say?
Cuts.
Yeah, death by 1,000 cuts. Excuse me.
Yeah, no, you're good. I agree.
Yes.
And historically, I don't think the Jets have ever been able to cover a tight end or a screen pass. So it scares you. It definitely does.
I think they've actually gotten a little bit better at covering screen passes. They can't really execute screen passes, but they've gotten better at covering them, to be honest with you. I want to shift gears to biggest X factor of the Jets. Who you got?
I think it's Breece Hall. I think,
Okay.
you know, I don't know if I said that last week. I probably did, but I think it's Breece Hall until it isn't, right? No, I think, you know, this is a guy that now I sound like Collinsworth. Now here's a guy. This is a guy that didn't play in either game because he tore his ACL against New England last year, so they haven't faced him. But for me, again, I've been banging the table for this all episode. I think the Jets have to run the ball to win this game, and I think if you're going to do that, then Breece has to be the bell cow and has to get the lion's share of the carries. And he's a guy that we've seen. I mean, every game he's been in, he's had at least one where he's broken it for, 10, 15, 20 plus yards. So you're going to have to get those chunk plays to beat New England. You're going to have to do that to kind of manage the expectations from Zach Wilson. So it's got to be Breece Hall in my eyes.
I'm going to go on the defense side of the ball. Big Q. He actually played okay, all things considered, the way the defense looked as a whole. He needs to be a game wrecker. He needs to be, I mean, I know he's a different position and his role is different, but he needs to be the way Micah Parsons was, controlling the line of scrimmage, getting in the backfield, making sure that Stevenson has no space, because if they can't run the ball, we're going to get pressure on Mac Jones, and it's going to make his life hell. So I think if Q is disruptive, he's getting tackles for losses, he's creating quarterback hurries and pressures. And I think that's just a huge key for this team. And I expect him to, but like if he's not and they have all day to throw, we're going to get crushed in the middle of the field. Like I said, that's what they're going to do. So they really need to contain the run and make Mac beat you with his arm, which if they lose that way, so be it. But like we saw how they performed in New England. I know it was windy and the weather wasn't great, but like this secondary can hold him, and they need to force turnovers. Like we talk about this a lot, like with Sauce dropping the pick. It's just sometimes when you have a play that could literally change the game. Like I'm not saying the Jets would have won, but I think if Sauce makes a pick six, it just shifts the momentum and it puts a lot of pressure on Dallas. And who knows? Like it just may have shook the confidence of Dak, and he could have been forced to make a mistake.
If Sauce makes that pick and runs it back, which he's going to, it's 14-10 with a minute or less going into halftime, and the Jets
and you're getting the ball.
Like that makes the difference. I mean, look no further to the game in MetLife last year with the Pats, right? If that pick six stands, it's 17-3 Jets. That game's over. They're not letting New England back into that.
No, not with that defense.
Exactly. Yeah. So they need something like that to go their way. So to your point, like you're saying Q has to be a game wrecker. He's the biggest X factor. If Q can get home, if he can generate that pass rush up front in Mac Jones's face, and the Jets, whoever the defensive lineman is, can get pressure on him and get like a strip sack, fumble, and we run it in for 6, like that's the game-changing type of play that you need. They need something. They need a little bit of luck like that to go in their favor to turn the tide and break this friggin' streak. Because this is 14 games in a row is insane to me. Like it has to break. It's like
Aaron Rodgers versus the Bears, Packers-Bears. Like literally, It's the same exact thing.
And no matter what, like there's just something that always happens that is like misfortune that just rues the Jets. And they have to. If the Jets lose this game, Jets Twitter is going to explode. We are going to be.
It's been a long week.
It's going to be doomsday around here. Absolute doomsday. It's going to be so bad.
Either way, it's going to be chaotic. If they win, it's going to be chaotic. If they lose, it's going to be like...
Yeah. If they win, it's going to be euphoria. Like we finally did it. We're going to the Super Bowl. Zach is the greatest QB of all time. If we lose, it's going to be very doom and gloom.
No one's going to feel that way. But what I want to say is they better get a rough in the passer call. The fact that the NFL told Saleh and the team and announced it that was not a call on JFM, they better get a call. I'm sorry. Like I can't... When was the last time the Jets got a roughing the passer call? I couldn't even tell you. And there's been so many times specifically Mike White against the Bills last year, which essentially broke his ribs. And then you also had Zach Wilson getting hit in the head against Matt Milano. Same guy, yet we're not getting a damn call. Like, they better give the Jets a call. And I know you're like, oh, it's a makeup call, but they're due. It's been far too long, and they don't ever get the calls.
Someone said it was November of 21. I can't remember the play, but I saw that. It was November of 21.
2 years?
2 years.
2. That's ridiculous.
In today's NFL, where they throw flags like every other play, especially for this call, and the Jets haven't gotten one in 2 years. That's
like
insane.
It just goes to show you that there's always this agenda with the refs. It's like you only get calls if you're a good player. But to me, that's ludicrous. If a guy's getting hit in a way he's not supposed to, the way that they're coached not to hit people, throw the damn flag. They have no problem throwing a flag when it's 3rd and long and Dak Prescott throws the ball away, and basically it's Brand Nichols that's called for a freaking pass interference, which wasn't a call. It's a catchable ball. It's so frustrating. I know that that's football and every team deals with it, but the Jets never get the benefit of the doubt, ever. No. You know, the last time I feel like they really got it? Remember when you were able to challenge pass interference review and they beat the Dolphins because they called it pass interference? That's like the last time that they ever really got a call that they never should have gotten. Last time I could think of. Is there anything else I'm missing here?
No, I don't think so. I think haters will say the no call on the punt return by Gibson.
Oh, get out of here.
I'm not saying I would say it. I'm just saying that haters would and some people would. But yeah, I think I go back to 98 and the Vinny touchdown that wasn't against Seattle. That changed replay forever right there.
That's true. Okay. Prediction. What do you think's happening on Sunday?
God,
1 o'clock game, so early.
I'm really struggling with this one. Like in my heart of hearts, I'm not gonna lie. I am scared to death of this game.
We're a 2-point dog to an 0-2 team at home.
And I'm like thinking on my history, and I picked the Jets to win both weeks. Like I was so stupid to pick them to beat Dallas last week. It was really
I didn't.
I know you didn't. I was willing it to happen, but there's a big part of me that really I'm scared that they will lose, but I have to keep my faith, and I believe too much. I'll tell you, I'm going to go on for a little bit here, but I listened to the interview with Garrett Wilson on Bart and Hahn, and I am so impressed by that guy. Like I am so impressed by him, and he says all the right things, and there's such a big part of me that really believes in the tide turning because of the young guys like that, like him and Brees and Sauce. And because Saleh is really building something. And I really do believe that game last week was an outlier for a lot of reasons. I just feel like if not now, it's never going to happen. And for that reason, and me continually staying positive and putting complete blinders on, I'm going to say the Jets win this game 17-14.
You know, what's funny? I was thinking about saying the exact score, but there's nothing in my heart of hearts that should make me feel that they're going to win this game. I mean, they haven't won this game since I was like at my first year out of college. That's like way too long. So I mean, I have no reason to believe it other than like they're due at this point, but they're going to figure this out. I don't know why. They're going to figure this out. 21-17 Jets. They force some turnovers. They maybe get a defensive touchdown or a return touchdown, something to jolt this team. I don't think the offense will be overly impressive. They're going to run the ball a lot, like you said. I think that Zach will do his best to protect the ball. I mean, he may throw one that we're going to get pissed about, but it's time. Figure out a way to beat this team. They're not good. They're 0-2. You effectively end their season if you win this game. They have the Cowboys next week. That means 0-4 is on docket. Knowing them, though, they'll figure out a way to beat the Cowboys because that's Belichick.
Yeah.
But like 1-3, like it's tough to get out of that hole. I don't know.
And I think really, I mean, this team, New England isn't as good as Buffalo, and they're not as good as Dallas. Outside of Matt Judon and the aura of Bill Belichick and the Patriots.
I mean, Gonzalez looks pretty good.
They don't scare me. They really don't. And the Jets, I think, match up pretty well against them on paper. It's just it's being a Jets fan and knowing this team and this history and how it can turn. But I really just feel like the Jets as a defense, as an offense, they have to smell blood in the water and be just itching and chomping at the bit to prove that last week wasn't how they really are and that they can win. And they can win without Aaron Rodgers, and that they are a good football team. And I believe in Saleh getting them ready. I believe in the coaching staff being self-reflective enough to make changes. I just think it has to happen. Nothing would please me more than just having like a blowout win, like a Jets Packers last year. What's kind of close for like the first quarter or two, and then they just kind of blow it wide open in the second half. Like,
oh my
I
God,
would,
please.
would there be anything better than like a 27-10
Nothing.
win where just it's never even like really never even in question? Oh my God, that would make me so happy.
Like, what about like the Bears game last year, 31-10? Oh
that's
my
it.
God. Like
Yeah.
they like in the first quarter, and then it's just like Jets just go on cruise control.
That would be fantastic.
Listen,
just put it away.
It's just literally like it's time. Like that's the only reason. Like there's no reason to believe that they're going to based on their history. And but now, like you got to do it
now. If not now, it's never going to happen. Like they need to. Like you said, 0-2. You can put the nail in their coffin this week. You have to at home.
You literally could like basically make Kraft want to fire Belichick at the end of the season by doing this. Like it's such a huge thing. Like it's not like an exaggeration right now.
Yeah. Do we know what jerseys the Jets are wearing? Do we know what uniform combo they're going with?
They tweeted out a picture that had
the white with the black pants.
The white with the black pants, but it's not confirmed. You got to wait till Woody officially tells us. But I'd imagine they're not going to wear green. I mean, everyone knows the greens have done nothing for us. It's all just been bad play for the most part.
All whites have done nothing for us too.
Got to go back to the New York Titans. Those jerseys I like.
I really like. I like the all blacks. Those are my favorites. But
the black helmet is nice.
The black helmet's nice. The all blacks are. I mean, outside of obviously the retro ones that they wore on week 1, they're
wearing them next week though against Kansas City.
I know those are the best. They just need to make those permanent.
And what's the other game that they're wearing them? They're wearing them against Kansas City, and I think there's one more game.
I thought it was just 2. I thought it was just 1 and 4, week 1 and 4. But
I might be wrong. No, they when they announced it, they tweeted out. So I'll get back to you on that one.
Right,
but
cool.
Any closing thoughts as we get scared for Sunday?
No, let's hope by this time next week we're talking about a 2-1 Jets team that just put the nail, like I said, put the nail in the Patriots coffin, and they're sitting at 0-3. That's all I really want. I don't care how it's done. I don't care if it's 27-10, if it's 3-2. I don't care if Zach Wilson throws 4 picks and we win. Just get the freaking W. That's all I care about, please.
Literally, you could win 3-0.
Yes,
doesn't
matter. Just get the W. Get the W and get the hell out.
Figure it out, as Big Cat says.
The Jets last year, they got a ton of monkeys off their back. They checked a ton of things off the list. Beating New England was like the one that they didn't. Get that one done. Just get it done, out of the way, early, week 3, done.
Yep. Oh, Slippery Pete said the Charger game is actually the next one that they do. Thank you, Slippery Pete.
Right. Appreciate that. My favorite fan. We need to get him.
He's always got the insight.
He's good. Slippery Pete's good, man.
Yes.
Comes in with little quips. I like it.
Yeah, love it. So quick reminder, make sure if you're not subscribed to the show, do it on either Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Google Podcasts. Turn on the Jets Live, just search it. You'll see our logo. Also make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@BadlandsTOJ. You'll get our videos. You'll get snippets of Badlands. You'll get snippets of Buck the Trend, the other guys. It's really great stuff. And also, if you haven't become a Badlands subscriber on Patreon, definitely do it. Best content every single day for premium Jet stuff. You got podcasts, you got videos, you have film breakdown. It's really the best you're going to get. And we just do appreciate everybody who tunes in every week or listens. It's amazing. And congratulations to get the Justin on his Quentin Williams jersey. I know he showed it off to us yesterday. I'm nervous, man, but hopefully next time we talk to you guys, we're recapping a really nice Jets win and we're all feeling good. Talk to you guys next week.